I was old enough to be listening to disco. I don't think you were, though, when it happened, were you?
My first recollection of the era, in fact my only recollection of the era, was dancing in my underwear for my babysitter to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. And there was one difficult creative pass in the making of this film where I thought I might try to reenact that moment. I actually found the babysitter. I would have hired a child to play me because I don't think anybody wants to see me involved in that sort of activity. But so that's my first. I loved Saturday Night Fever, and then
that would have been cute.
I recall then being aware that a few years later that disco sucked and you were supposed to be into punk and rock, and so good little sheep that I was, I just dutifully did that.
So what drew you then to the subject?
Well, this started when I went to pitch a film to Bravo, then an arts station in Canada, about Harold Pinter, the British playwright. And I was, as I'm giving my spiel, the broadcaster's eyes glaze over, and she says, "Nobody cares about Harold Pinter anymore. How about a film on disco?" And I say, "Okay." So from that deep-seated need, I knew it was a no-brainer of a subject. Great pictures, great music, kitschy, funny fashions. There'd be lots to have fun with visually in a film. And then, but as I started to grapple with the notion of what specifically to do, conveniently a friend sent me, in fact, Charlotte Mickey, who's now the sales agent of the film, sent me the first of a couple of revisionist histories of disco that just started coming out in the last couple of years that gave this drastic new interpretation of the era we all assumed to just be flaky and fun and about drugs and dancing and whatnot, and turns out to have rather been a misunderstood time of protest and liberation. So I knew I had my investigative work ahead of me.
Right. Thelma's laughing right now. So there are a couple of things there, Thelma. You said there'd be some great kitschy kind of visuals and that sort of thing to use. You can't feel the same way about that. Do you look back at that and go, well, that was kitschy?
No.
Yeah.
I just look back at it as a time that my record was at the height of, and it was a lot was going on, and everybody was having a good time. And
Thelma was never kitschy. I didn't mean Thelma. That is an adjective that could never be applied to the woman sitting here, okay? Just for the record. And I've seen many of her hairstyles over the years through footage. In fact, if I had to do a quiz and mix and match, yes, that was 1977.
Right.
Yes, the pantsuit. Yes, I remember that.
But when you watch this movie now, what sort of memories does it bring back?
Well, I haven't seen the movie yet. I purposely am going to wait to see it tomorrow.
With an audience.
Yeah.
And so then I'll rephrase then. When you think back on this era, that I saw the film last week. I live here, so I get to see everything in advance.
Right.
So I saw it last week, and it brought back to me certainly in a flooding rush. I was young, but I remember a great deal of this and the clothes, and it really does a good job of nailing the feel of the time. So when you think back to that, what memories come to you first?
For me, it was, like I said, I had a hit record, or prior to that I was trying to get a record. I was on the Motown label, and everybody was trying to get that elusive R&B smash hit, and I was recording. I mean, recording was like a job. I was there almost every day in the studio trying to come up with something. And then someone, Suzanne DePass, who was the A&R person at the time, heard the song "Don't Leave Me This Way," and thought it would be a good dance song. Because the dance, we were saying, well, maybe this is the way to go. And we put the record out. Hal Davis, who was not to be confused with Hal David.
Yeah, who just passed away last week.
Yeah, not that Hal David, but Hal Davis, who passed away some years ago. But he was one of the producers of the Jackson 5. There was what they call themselves a corporation, and so they were one of the producers of it. So he was a very good producer, and he came up with, with the arrangement of it, and we went in and cut it, and it sounded great to us, and we thought, hey, we got it. But then we had to take it to the chairman, Mr. Gordy, to have him listen to it and give his notes and whatever. And I had been that route many times before, and he said, "No, we don't think this is good. We don't think this is no, we don't know." So I said, "Got something for him now." And so because I was friendly with Suzanne and her assistant, they allowed me to go with him up to Barry's house. I didn't.
That's nerve-wracking.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
because they thought we were so sure of it.
Right.
So I'm going to be there, and I was like, I'm going to be there, and he's going to say it's a hit, and it's going to be woo, 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 and I was all excited. Early in the morning, we went up there to the mansion up in Bel Air, and we were sitting, and they played a couple of some things, and then they saved mine to the end. So we listened, we put the song on, and I'm sitting there looking at him, like, okay, and okay, and when he finished hearing it, he says, "No, I don't get it. I don't hear a hit."
Wow.
And so, talk about some disappointment.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed coming down off that hill out of Bel Air. And but the head of the A&R, who was Suzanne DePass, felt very strongly about the song, and she put it out anyway.
Yeah.
And it was a hit. So for me, it was like it wasn't like the disco era. It was like I finally had a hit.
Yeah.
And it was received most prevalent in that in the dance.
In the clubs.
In the clubs. Of course, it did go on to be an R&B hit and a pop, but from the clubs, they were like on it right away. So I was just doing what I do. So I didn't look at it as. And then when people, at the end of that era, which however long it was, and people said, "Oh, it sucks, disco," and they said, "It's over, it's done." And I'm thinking, not really, because I was still working.
Right.
So I didn't see.
So you didn't feel a part of it then?
I didn't feel that I was outside of it, or I didn't feel that I was. I certainly embraced it.
Right.
I embraced it, and then because the song was kind of taken over, not taken over, but became kind of like the anthem for a certain period of time that was going on. I was happy that it was my song.
Yeah.
And that so I kind of
And you can pay your rent.
There you go.
Get a new hairstyle every now and again.
Yeah, so it's
Well spent.
yeah. So it was a very good time for me.